Yeah.
So
Yeah.
could you like tell me about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I'll give you a basic entry level what I did and what I seen most people do to get started. Kind of go from there. Um, yeah, sounds good, man. As far as for me, what can I say? Yeah, how did you meet Ryan?
So I met him through Keith, the guy I did before
Oh,
Ryan.
okay,
And I
cool,
asked Keith, I was like, yeah, no, who do you know? He said Ryan.
nice,
And I
awesome,
was talking to
awesome. Yeah,
Ryan. Ryan's story is great.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I saw a little bit of it, and everything. That's pretty cool. Yeah, man, me and him, we were in the military, and it was a good time. So, young and learning different things, different aspects. But I was actually getting into real estate while I was starting the military with him. So I was a little ahead of the game as far as just knowledge wise, not really taking action, but just information wise and everything like that. But yeah, I started working. I was working as a cop before in New York City. And then, I was talking to those veteran guys. What got me started in real estate was this, man. I was talking to those veteran guys and they were like, yo, 20, 30 years. I'm like, why are you guys still here? And they were all telling me the same responses that they still got to pay for their house to pay off the mortgage. They still got to pay for the children's tuition, get them through school. And they said that if they were to leave now and only collect a pension, they would have to find another job just to make ends meet. And I was like, wow, 20, 25 years on, and you're still here trying to make it, still struggling. The pension's not enough. So then I started thinking, this is me 2, 3 years in the job. I'm like, this is my path if I continue here. Like, I don't think it's gonna get any better. So that's what got me into real estate. Started thinking about different avenues, different approaches that I could to generate wealth. And so once I realized that the way to wealth is there's two approaches. It's either you're a business owner or there's real estate. And so for me, real estate was a more feasible option than starting a business at the time. Uh, so yeah, I started learning, digging deep into real estate, what it is, how to become a landlord. The best book I read, I think most people have read it. It was Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was just not a real estate book specifically, but more of a mindset book. Just kind of changing your mindset. I think that's really where it begins. You got to start off changing your mindset, why you want to get into real estate, or what's the whole purpose, or what's the reason for real estate, right? If it's to generate wealth or create a legacy long term, then having that understanding and knowing where what it's going to entail to get there, right? Having that end goal in mind, and then working your way backwards, kind of reverse engineer everything. So that was me, man. I read that book, I understood. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Opened up my eyes as far as, hey, not having to work for the rest of our lives. Kind of like some of those cop buddies of mine, they were working and they were struggling and they already had, 20, 30 years in and they still were like, not it. So I'm like, this, so that mind shift there was pretty nice. And then from there, getting into bigger pockets, everybody knows bigger pockets, of course, reading a lot of different books, listening to a lot of different real estate podcasts, real estate rookie, things of that nature. So getting that information knowledge, right? And finally, I was ready to execute right around 2020. And then COVID happened. So then I was like, oh, hold on. There's so much uncertainty going on. So I backed off a little bit. And but prior to 2020, that was my first real estate property that was my rental property I was going into. But prior to 2020, I think it was in 2019, I bought my condo in New York. So that was my first primary residence property. Just happened to buy it. I got it as a lottery actually. So I applied for one of those lotteries. So that's a little nugget there. If you are in an area where there's different housing lotteries available to purchase a property, uh, that would be a nice way to get in there. What that provides is that it provides a lower cost of entry. Usually, those are subsidized by the federal government or some type of nonprofit government, able to for you to able to find a property at a lower price. Right, it's not market price, and that's usually based on income. Depending on the income that you have, right? Certain amount of income, certain AMI or area median income. So they base it off of that. And as long as you meet those guidelines, you have that criteria, you're able to qualify for one of those lotteries. And for me, it worked out. I was number 7 on the lottery list, and they got to my list, and boom, I was able to purchase it. I was actually able to purchase that property through a home run program through Citibank. That's another thing. as you're shopping around or looking for your first rental property, make sure you take advantage of those a lot of first time home buyer grants or opportunities through a lot of different banks or through the states that you live in. Okay, for in my case in New York, they have a new homeowner grant available to the residents of the state, in addition to whatever bank offer that you're getting. So for me, that was, I think it was 3% down or 3.5% down, one of those options, and then they covered PMI, so I didn't have to pay any PMI, and they gave me a $5,000 I think grant on closing costs. So this was through Citibank, and that was like the best thing that happened. And man, I only ended up putting I think like 6 grand for my first rent for my first primary house. You know, that was a 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment in New York, so can't complain. It was good. At the time, I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that hey, at the end of the day, this is going to be a good thing. But that experience right there allowed me to open up my eyes to understand what that process is like. You know, as far as the closings, as far as down payment, as far as interest rate, things of that nature. So that was cool. Um, yeah, from there on, after that, 2020 came around. I was getting ready to buy another property. Then COVID happened, so I took a pause. And then, you know, while the whole government was trying to figure out what was going on in 2021, and in March, that's when I finally executed. I found a single family house out in PA and was able to purchase that property. Same thing, I was able to put a little less down. And, you know, I was just saving up money for my down payment uh, from the time that I wanted to buy it and the time that I actually executed. Any extra cash that I had that wasn't going towards bills or living expenses, boom, I would put up into a savings account, high interest, right, high yield savings account, so like that I could start accumulating that down payment funds. When I had those funds, that's when I was able to go ahead and move on my first property and execute on it. I used a realtor. A friend of a friend had used them before, so I'm kind of a trusted person. And he was able to help me out find the right property. Look at the numbers. He actually told me of for like 1 or 2 properties that I said, "Hey, let's move on this one." He told me that it wasn't actually a good deal, so he kind of helped me out there. Kind of broke down the numbers for me, and on the third one is what he said, "Hey, I think this is a solid property for you," because he knew what my goal was, what I was trying to accomplish. So that's also very helpful if you can find somebody or a realtor who understands that you're a real estate investor and what your end game or end goal is, so like that they could work backwards with you and get you to that point where it's going to be pretty good long term. So you can't really trust everybody out there, but if you find a real estate investor focused realtor, it'll be beneficial for sure. And yeah, man, I got into that first property. And it was golden from there. It was actually a home run. And when I say a home run, it's because I was able to cash flow right away. The property didn't really need much work as far as cosmetic repairs. I just did some light painting, and they were able to get a tenant in there for me. Like I think maybe a month in, maybe less. Yeah, it was a home run. Yeah.
You said they did it for you?
Yeah, the
Who's
realtor. So I asked them if they could find a tenant for me. So a lot of realtors, depending, they'll also lease apartments or houses, and then they'll be able to find a tenant. So they'll put it on their MLS as a rental for you, and then people that are interested in renting will apply through them, and then they will vet them a little bit, and then they'll bring you like the application so you could do the final vetting and approval. And if you're okay with the renter and everything looks good on their application, checking their credit score, their job, their income, making sure it's good, understanding all of that, you tell it, you know, I told him, hey, yeah, seems like a good applicant, let's go forward. And then they proceeded with getting all the lease write up and collecting the first month and security deposit and also the broker fee. They charge a fee for this. It's usually about 1 month's rent. So the ideal way to do it is to have the tenant pay for that fee, right? That broker fee. Sometimes, right, it's negotiable. Sometimes if they decide they don't want to pay it or can't, either you move on to somebody else who's willing to pay it, or if you really want them in there, then you could offer to pay half of it or even the full cost. It's up to you. Yeah.
Damn, so the realtor does all the work for finding tenants?
They can if they offer that service. Not every realtor is going to do
Okay.
that. So it's really something if they offer it. In my case, they did. Usually, every realtor I worked with tend to offer it up. So I haven't had a situation where they haven't. But not all realtors do that. Some realtors are just strictly, hey, buy, buy and sell.
Okay, I never heard about that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
What did
yeah,
you do with that first property? Did you scale up from there? How did that look?
yeah. So that first property, I held on to it for. I still have it actually to this day. So I bought that one in 2021, and from there, I was able to get a tenant. Uh, I'm on my second tenant now with that property, and it's been a plus performing property. And the reason I say that is because I was able to buy super low, purchase that property for I think 137 back in 2021 at I think 5% interest rate at the time. So I made my payment right. Actually, it was less at a 2% or 3% interest rate. So my monthly payment on that property is $800, taxes and insurance included, right? So principal, interest, and right now it's currently rented for 1,800. From there you have to account for reserves, right? So yeah, 800 goes towards mortgage, but then there's capital expenses, and then there's maintenance reserves, and then vacancy. So I usually do about 3 to 5% for each one of them, depending on how comfortable I feel with the property and the condition of the property. I think right now I have it at 3% each, 369. So I take about 9% from that 1,800. So whatever is remaining, so that 9% of reserves, I put that into the savings account, let that build up month over month. So like that, when there are monthly or not monthly, when there are maintenance expenses, because they will come up, I could take out from that budget and I have to take out from my cash flow. So anything that goes into the reserves is on a monthly basis, and then anything extra from that is my cash flow. So then I've been able to take that cash flow, put it into another savings account, let that build up, and I was able to let that build up for my next property. So once I had that cash flow build up, get to a certain amount, my next property was a triplex. I partnered with two partners with this one. Uh, this was the following year in 2022. I had some I had some cash. I kind of wanted to scale a little bigger, a little faster, and so some of the options that I heard was to partner with somebody in the real estate game. So me and two other partners, we pulled our money together, and we bought a triplex out in Pennsylvania that was for about 250,000 or 260, something like that. And boom, so all of us 1/3 put the money together for the down payment. We set up an LLC, and then boom, we were able to purchase that property for around 250, 260, and we were cash flowing. I think maybe, I don't know, it wasn't much. That one was pretty low, maybe like $600 total. But that was a nice entry because it allowed us exposure. At least for me, it gave me exposure to working with other people in the real estate venture, and also I'm able to have appreciation and also depreciation for tax purposes and stuff like that. So on the long side, even though the cash flow was a little small, but on the paper losses or on the tax side of things, it was a good deal, and on the equity side of things, it helped out. So from there on, we had that triplex. I managed that property. I created my own LLC to be a property manager. So that's just another thing that I started realizing, as you start into real estate, you start venturing into creating your own businesses for different things. Not everybody has to do this. I just decided to do it just because I had a partnership with a triplex there. So the way that worked is, so the LLC, that management company I would be the one in charge of doing the bookkeeping, talking to the tenants, and if I wanted to put tenants in there, I would, oversee that aspect, and then each property would then just pay me that property management fee to me. So that's one avenue, and then after that, same thing, just save money up again. All the cash flow that was gained, put money back into a high yield savings account, build up, save. And then in 20, let's see, that was 2022. What did I do in 2023? 2023, I think I took a year off, or maybe towards the end of the year. There we go. Towards the end of the year of 2023, I partnered with my parents in this case, and we bought a duplex. They were able to, yeah, because they were selling their apartment in New York. And so what we did was we rolled over their funds from that sale, which is called a 1031 exchange. And that's just basically when you take the equity or the gains or the profit of one property and you roll that over into a new property, then you you defer your capital gains tax on that money. And so they wanted to do that. They took that money, put it into a duplex that we bought in New York, and I put my portion in as far as the down as a closing cost. They put down the down payment, and we partnered on that duplex property at the end of 2023, early 2024. And so at this point now, right, 3 4, with that duplex, it puts me up to 6 units that I was managing and working in 2024. So just 4 years in, I was working with 6 units in all long-term rentals. So from there, we were able to renovate that property in 2024, both apartments, and get it listed at top rental market. So it's a it's a 3 bedroom, 1 bath apartment. Each apartment upstairs, I think, was rented for 2,700, and downstairs was 3,100. So we were bringing in over 6K plus added 3 detached car garage as well that I also rented out. So pretty much like 7 units because that 3 car garage was bringing in about $1,000 alone. So yeah, we were able to. I think over 6,900 was bringing us in rent, and then our mortgage was about 4,100 on that property. So it wasn't too bad at all. It was a pretty good solid deal. And then we refinanced that property. So now we were able to pull out. We pulled out, I think, 60K out of that property and refinance after a year. And after doing those renovations, we cashed out refi. So what that means is we did the forced equity on that property by renovating those 2 units. We brought up the income by renting it at high market value because it was fully renovated. And so now I'm able to go to the bank and say, hey, what can you offer me on this property? I took out a DSCR loan, and that's a debt service coverage ratio loan, is what it stands for. And basically, that's where the lender no longer looks at you, particularly your person, for qualifying, but they look at how much the rental property comes in to qualify the mortgage. So depending on how much rental income is coming in and how much the value of the property is, then they could determine that coverage. And so based on that number and that ratio, then they're able to then qualify you on a new loan on based on the rental income that's coming in. The pros of that is that it doesn't, one, it's a business commercial loan, so it doesn't hit my personal side. Two, you don't have to show a lot of personal income or personal tax returns to qualify for this loan. They do look at it, but it factors in a small amount compared to a regular conventional loan. And so I was able, do a cash out refinance with that, pull money out from there, and now that property is sitting pretty. So got up to 7 units, and then in 2025, actually earlier this year, around April, me and my partners decided to sell that triplex that we bought back in 2022. Just because it wasn't really producing much for us. It was low cash flow, and the appreciation was a little slow. And this was an experimental property that we kind of started with in 2022 just to see how it goes. Overall, it was good, solid. All of us learned something from that experience, and we were able to sell and walk away with about 30K each one of us. So it was a pretty solid investment. So now I am down to what is it, 4 units now. So that's where I'm at right now.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about your managing company? Because I've heard real estate alone isn't enough. You need to tie it in with business.
Yeah, for sure. Real estate, at the end of the day, long-term rentals exactly what it is a long-term investment. If you're looking to try and replace your W-2 income with rental properties, it's not going to happen in the first 5 or 10 years, not at all, because it's a long-term play. Rentals, especially nowadays, it's hard to find a well cash flowing property. If you do find something with the high interest rates going on right now, you're probably looking at, if you're lucky, you're probably looking at maybe $200-$300 a month, right? So if you do the math, you're gonna need a few doors to kind of, even 10 doors, that's only $3,000 dollars a month. So it's like you're gonna need a few rental properties to get up there to completely replace, depending on the number, right? Whatever your number is, your goal is. So that's what it is. It's a long-term rental. There's other options, short-term and mid-term, but that's a whole different ballgame. So for me, I realized, okay, this is not going to get me to where I want to get to, right? Financial freedom or financial independence, whatever the case may be. And as soon as I thought it was going to be, just because it takes a lot to come up with a lot of capital, unless you're partnering or seeking, a lot of loans with people. But if you want your own capital, you're not borrowing money, it takes a while to build up that capital. So for me, it works out where I created a property management business, but I only did that because I wanted to manage my properties accordingly and not have to outsource that responsibility. And the way it works is a separate entity, and I am the property manager. I handle all the stuff that the property needs, as far as the tenants, as far as maintenance, as far as the bookkeeping and accounting, those little things, which I have it pretty automated and uh, pretty self-sustained for the most part. And then I just paid myself a fee from those rental properties, all my properties, right? So those properties pay me a small fee, 5% a month of the rental income. And that's pretty much it. It's just, I just put all the business aspects to my little property management business. Um, so yeah, the other businesses that I did start after that was financial coaching and a painting business. I started those two a little on down the road. With the financial coaching, it's just me teaching people financial literacy, how to manage their budget, how to manage a credit card. What are things to do, how to get into those habits that are going to set you up for success financially, right? How to manage your money as far as with a family, how to manage your money as a couple, and trying to get you to elevated experience that a lot of people, we don't get taught this in school, right? From this basic financial literacy. What's an asset? What's a liability? How to debit, how to credit, how do credit cards work? When should you pay it off? APRs, what does that mean, right? Things of that nature. How to budget your money, how to look at your finances, how to track different expenses and reduce the expenses, or increase your income in different areas. So that was a pretty cool business. I just like helping people give knowledge by giving them knowledge so they could go ahead and execute on certain things or goals that they want to accomplish. So those were my three businesses that I started recently. And yeah, it's been going pretty well. Can't complain.
Sounds great. I mean, you're right on that. School doesn't really teach you that stuff. I
Yeah,
think I learned about an asset and a liability. That was probably about it. School.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, I want to talk about. Let's see. So for a lot of people getting started, what I would do now would be definitely house hacking is a great option for my folks in the military. I was in the military. I'm still am in the military. Definitely take advantage of your VA home loan. But even if you're not a veteran, right? House hacking opportunity. What does that mean? It just, hey, you buy a primary residence, maybe a 4-bedroom house. You live in one bedroom, rent out the others to your roommates, especially if you're like in college or not even, right? Or you're just younger and have no family, as far as like kids and wife and stuff like that, then yeah, that would be a great opportunity. Why is that? Because you could purchase a home with a primary conventional loan or even an FHA loan for 5% down, 3% down, 3.5% down. So very little money that you need to get in there. And then
What about
now,
fifty?
PMI, yeah, PMI. So if it's FHA, you're gonna have PMI. Anything under 20% is gonna be PMI. But like I said, some banks offer to cover that PMI for you completely. FHA loans, PMI stays on for the duration of the loan the whole time. FHA loans, when it's a conventional loan, it goes off. It goes away after 20%. But I wouldn't worry too much about PMI as long as the numbers work. It makes sense. I mean, it's just part of the process, right? It's just a number you just have to calculate for. So it's not really a big deal, to be honest. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, house hacking would be a great option to get started. To put down at least the least amount of money as possible, and then be able to kind of rent out your other options or your other places, rooms. If it's not a room or a house for yourself, look into a duplex or even up to a fourplex. All right. So if you have the right income, you're able to, or even if you have a cosigner, you're able to purchase up to 4 units via a conventional loan, a regular loan. Okay, that's a conventional or a VA loan. FHA loan, whatever the case may be, you could purchase up to 4 units. So let's say you buy a fourplex, you live in 1 unit, you're able to now rent out the other 3 units. That's a house hacking term as well. That way that you could really accomplish and succeed. So that's what I would do. I would look into it now. Would be either purchasing my home as a primary if it's just a single family house that has three or four bedrooms, or buying a duplex, triplex, quadplex if it's reasonable, right? As far as the purchase price and you have the down payment for it, that'll be the way to go. Yeah.
Is there any mistakes you made early on that you would warn us about?
Yeah, definitely understand what the numbers are. Run the numbers. What's the potential rent income? What are my expenses going to be? So always account for utilities expenses, account for insurance, property insurance, and your taxes. Right. Usually it's accounted for when you're running numbers as far as underwriting with the loan. But then another thing people forget about is those reserves. Okay, capital expenditures. Capital expenses are going to be stuff like your HVAC, your water heater, your maybe appliances, those bigger ticket items, your roof, right? Anything like that. Those are capital expenses. You want to account for that, and usually, like I said, between 3 or 5%, yeah, of your rent you want to allocate for reserves. So you have three buckets. Those are capital expense. You have your maintenance reserve, and you have your vacancy reserve. So that's vacancy is if your apartment or your unit is empty if the tenant leaves and now you have a few months that is empty, that accounts for that vacancy, right? You have money to cover and pay down that mortgage if you're vacant for like a month or 15 days, whatever the case may be. So account for those things, and then don't worry too much about, find a good property, a good condition property. But if you feel like it's too bad or ugly and you have to do renovations, just account for the numbers. Make sure if you need to do renovations, okay, do light cosmetic renovations. Don't do a whole brand new gut job for your first rental property. That's not necessary. Find something that's more easier, more entry level than doing a gut job. That would be my take for experience.
So what makes you so like confident enough to be able to take that first step? Because it's a big loan you're taking for a long amount of time. It's a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely having some knowledge is definitely helpful, but don't get stuck in that paralysis. Analyst. Wait, what is it? Analyst paralysis. There we go. Don't get stuck in that analyst paralysis where you're just looking at the numbers constantly, But once you have the numbers and you know what the numbers are, you're looking good, everything looks good, you have the knowledge, or maybe you're not, you don't have the full knowledge, but you're not gonna have everything until you finally execute. Just find a mentor, somebody who could help you, who could kind of look over, do a second look at what you got going on, at your deal, and then just take action. All right, whether it's gonna be good or bad, just be prepared for it. If it's it's a risk, real estate is a risk, so there's no guarantee to this. So be prepared and having that mindset, like, hey, this could go totally bad. What happens if it does go bad? How am I prepared for this? Okay, cool. I can cover this way, that way. Okay, what are your exit plans? So I could probably sell, or I could probably hold myself up to X amount. 2 months, 3 months, having those reserve funds available to kind of weather the storm when things do go bad. But yeah, just finding somebody, a mentor who could be like guide you on the process is definitely helpful. I think that's what helped me. I had that first realtor who helped me kind of mentor me a little bit, and it gave me that confidence that I needed to back what I was thinking and what I knew already. So that I think that's helpful. Just having the knowledge and finding somebody who you could count on and kind of like lean on when you need to.
Yeah, that's what everyone tells me. Find a mentor, find someone who knows what they're doing, and
Yeah,
help them out.
yeah, for sure. And who's willing to teach you, right, and kind of help you out. Not everybody just it's in the right mentor capacity for you. So just gotta find somebody that kind of aligns with what you have, your goals, your understanding, and what you're trying to achieve, and then you're able to execute
Do you
and just
ever
take action.
do you ever find this stuff like overwhelming? And
It does get overwhelming sometimes, especially when you're constantly looking at properties over and over and over again. Or if you're dealing with a lot of turnovers at the same time, a lot of tenant complaints at the same time, like things are breaking down, appliances are breaking down, you just find yourself constantly fixing stuff over and over again. So that could get a little overwhelming, but it's just part of the process. If you're trying to achieve something and you're trying to get somewhere, I mean, there's going to be hurdles. It's not going to be smooth road. So being mentally prepared for, hey, things are going to happen, how you're going to overcome it, just execute. There's ways to fix it. If you're running through that problem, somebody has found a solution for it. So either get on those blogs, those chats, those podcasts, find a solution somewhere. I mean, nowadays you can use AI, try to figure it out. So yeah, it's going to get a little overwhelming. I'm not going to say that it's not, but it is definitely, it will be at a certain point. It's just a matter of overcoming it, finding a solution, and taking action and executing so you could resolve that issue.
so if someone wants to get started in real estate, what's something you're telling them to do right now this week to get moving?
Yeah, it depends on where they are in the journey. Okay, if you already done your research, you have your knowledge, cool, great. Then how much money do you got? How much capital? Do you want to start by just yourself? Are you looking for capital for somebody else to invest in one of your deals? All right, that might be a little harder to do, but it's not impossible. Maybe a family member, maybe they have some cash, maybe they're looking to support you on your journey. Hey, I have this deal. We got to present it to them. How much the income, what the potential rental income is, how much it's going to cost, and how much money you need. That's one way. Or just save up the money for yourself and get ready to start finding lenders to get pre-approved. So start applying. Or if you're a little early in the journey, just start reading the books, start reading the knowledge, start getting that, listening to those podcasts, and start understanding how to underwrite a deal. So, okay, how much rental income can I bring in? What are those numbers? All right, a website that I use is Rentometer and Zillow. You could or Redfin to help you kind of gauge what the rental estimates are for the area that you're looking at. Okay, and then understand the expenses. Okay, what are my expenses going to be? Okay, how much is this mortgage? How much is insurance? How much is the taxes? All right. Okay, what about my reserves? Let me factor in this 5, 10, 50% for my reserves. Okay. And what are utilities going to be? Am I going to pay? If it's a single family house, you shouldn't pay any utilities, right? Pass all those utility costs over to the tenant. Let them pay for everything as far as utilities goes. Especially everything, the sewer, water, electric, gas, everything. You can pass that over. Yeah. If it's a shared thing, then account for that, right? How much am I going to spend on utilities, and then factor that into your rent, into your rental market. So understanding those numbers, understanding that underwriting process, so you could be in the best position possible. Yeah,
What are your thoughts on the partnership side of the real estate?
it's good and bad, pros and cons, depending on the partners. Some may partner with you, some may not, just because you're inexperienced. But if you could get into the deal by yourself, I highly recommend, just so you could get tested out, get a good feel for yourself. If you're looking for somebody to partner with, make sure you trust that partner and have everything out in writing as far as how the split is going to be, who's going to do what, who's managing what, and how each person is going to be compensated as far as that deal structure goes. Whether it's, I mean, I didn't do any deals partnership where it was a monthly thing. It was more on the equity play side of things, where hey, this is going to be the split. when we decide to sell, all the money that's generated from the time that we own it until the time we sell is going to stay within the property. We're not dispersing anything. So just understanding those things and having everything in writing will be good. Partnerships, I mean, it depends. I'm not saying yes or no. It just depends on the deal. Depends on who you're partnering with and what you got going on.
So tell me what you're working on now. What are you planning for the future?
Yeah, for sure. So I just recently moved from New York, so now I'm in Dallas,
Oh,
Texas.
really?
And
Me too.
yeah, so just a few months. So now starting to get to learn this area here. I might get into. I did two fix and flips back in New York. I might get into that out here. So I'm looking in the area. I'm studying the market. Something new that somebody was telling me about with surplus proceeds, with looking at foreclosures and how to profit off of that. Just getting into that investment area, looking at foreclosures, so like you're able to buy the property a little lower than market rent, right? Because it's hard to buy something right now on the market and make it work numbers for you. So that's what I'm looking at. And I'm starting a new business. It's going to be credit card processing terminals. So I think I might get into that for a little bit, check that out to see how that goes. So yeah, yeah. So it's pretty good. And then I'm about to have a baby on the way. So sometime either this week, next week. So yeah, I'm just taking my foot off the pedal just a little bit so I could concentrate on my family, get established, and then hit it hard again. So
Uh,
yeah,
Tell me where people can follow you and learn about what you're doing.
yeah. I'm on Instagram. It's Alex PY underscore 21. Hit me up there, and I'm on LinkedIn for my professional folks. Alex Ponceano. You can find me on there, and that's pretty much it. Those two medias.
That's
Yeah,
great. Thank you for joining me on the call. I really appreciate it. Definitely will be speaking to you soon.
yeah, man, for sure, for sure. Any other specific questions, feel free. You could hit me up, let me know, I can answer them, and then yeah, I mean, I'm here. If you want me to look over some deals in the future, we could talk through them, figure it out. Resources, tools that I use, just let me out, reach out, shoot it over your way with everything I've been doing.